I decided to put my sister's name on the marriage license. This time, I'd give Jake what he wanted. This time, I'd be the one to dress my sister in the wedding gown, the one to place the engagement ring on her finger. I'd engineer every encounter between them. When he took her to New York City, I'd head south to the University of Miami without a word, because in my past life, even when I was over 50, he and our son were still pleading with me for a divorce, pleading to legalize his relationship with my sister. Reborn, all I wanted was to embrace freedom and leave romance behind. Just fill out your name and give it to me. Jake tapped his fingers impatiently on the table. I stared at the marriage license, my fingertips tracing the rough edges of the paper, lost in thought. In my past life, I'd filled in my own name like it was a sacred decree, then excitedly dragged Jake to buy wedding favors, only to be met with harsh words because he was rushing back to make ginger tea for Chloe, who wasn't feeling well. Yeah, I know, I mumbled, feigning indifference. I glanced up at his anxious expression, his eyes constantly flicking to his watch. He was wearing a white shirt, the sleeves rolled up to his elbows, revealing his toned forearms. Chloe loved him dressed like this. She said he looked clean-cut and fresh. If you're busy, go ahead, I said, forcing a casual tone, pushing down the bitterness rising in my throat. I'll hand it in when I'm done. He visibly relaxed, his voice softening. Don't worry, we're getting married. I'll take care of you. But please don't resent Chloe anymore. It's bad for her reputation if people find out. I remained silent. In my past life, I'd explained countless times, but in his eyes, I was just a resentful older sister, unable to appreciate her gentle younger sibling. He didn't say anything else, just turned and hurried away. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart, but my mind replayed the scenes of my past life. Our wedding night, he spent the entire night with Chloe, claiming she was unwell. He only took Chloe with him when he was stationed in New York, saying she'd never been there before. Even on the day our son was born, Jake was too busy comforting a distressed Chloe after her separation to be present. Then just before I passed, our son was whispering in my ear, "Mom, just let Dad go. You're not as compatible as Aunt Chloe. Dad's been unhappy for so long." I looked at my distant husband on the hospital bed. He remained silent. That silence was all the confirmation I needed. I pressed my lips together firmly, then slowly released them. No, not this time. I wouldn't make the same mistakes. I picked up the pen and slowly wrote 2 words in the applicant section. Chloe Miller. Jake, if you loved her so much, you could have her. I handed the completed application to the clerk, took the marriage certificate, and turned to leave the registry office. I felt no sadness, only an indescribable sense of relief. Chloe and I were taken in by the Millers after our parents' passing. Chloe was charming and knew how to flatter, coaxing the Millers into treating her exceptionally well. Mrs. Miller, in particular, had hoped Chloe would marry Jake, but Chloe's single phrase, "I don't want to compete with my sister," made Jake willingly marry me. In reality, she was keeping Jake waiting. Back then, he was just a captain, and she was hoping for someone more accomplished. I went to the university, clarified the procedures and the estimated living expenses, then walked home with a lighter heart. Back at Jake's military housing, I heard Chloe's playful voice the moment I stepped inside. "Jakey, are you sure it's okay to be here with me instead of Sarah? Will she be upset?" "I can spend time with her anytime," Jake replied, his voice tender. "But you're not feeling well. I don't want you to be alone." Chloe giggled, then feigned sadness. "Will you still be kind to me after you and Sarah are married?" "Of course," Jake's voice was firm. "Who else would I care for? If your sister is unkind to you, I'll end things with her." I clenched my fists, barely holding back the emotion. Even Reborn, hearing my husband speak this way, still hurt. I composed myself and walked into the room as if nothing was amiss. Jake emerged from Chloe's room, a slightly embarrassed look on his face. "Hi, I just checked on Chloe. She wasn't feeling well." I gave a non-committal hum and turned to go to my room. In my past life, I had fought with him countless times about their questionable closeness. This time, I didn't want to waste my time or energy. He stopped me. "Sarah, maybe we should buy some wedding favors and hand them out to the other wives on base?" I looked at him surprised. I figured this was his way of making up for not arguing with me. "No, it's not necessary. I don't need all that fuss." He looked taken aback. He probably couldn't imagine me refusing this. "Sarah, are you upset that Jake was taking care of me?" Chloe came out of the room, looking all innocent and wronged. She was wearing the vintage dress I'd bought specifically for our wedding photos, the one I'd worked extra shifts for 6 months to buy in my past life, and hadn't even worn once. Noticing my gaze, Chloe stammered, I saw it on your bed and it looked so pretty. I wanted to try it on. I forgot to take it off." She looked down at her fiddling fingers, the picture of a child who'd made a mistake. Jake instinctively started. "Sarah, don't." I cut him off, my voice calm. "It looks good on you. Keep it. I haven't worn it anyway." I could detect lingering traces on the dress. It brought back memories of me hurrying home in distress. Just thinking about it made my stomach twist uncomfortably. Under their stunned gazes, I returned to my room and locked the door. I pulled out my folder. Inside was my acceptance letter, University of Miami. I'd always loved the South, and it had the finance program I was so excited about. In my last life, I'd given up my education for Jake, content to stay home and take care of his parents. This time, I still had a chance. This time, I would live for myself. I flipped through the calendar. 10 days. In 10 days, I could leave this place. Time was tight, but I had to prepare. Every second counted. A knock startled me. I opened the door impatiently. Jake stood there holding a bowl of noodles, his voice gentle. "Hungry? I made you some noodles." I hesitated. In my past life, he was either cold and distant or harsh with his words. It had been a long time since I'd seen this tender side of him. "No thanks. I ate out." "No way. You never spend money on yourself." His words stung. I used to budget carefully, spending most of my earnings on him, buying him gifts. Now, with college on the horizon, I had to be careful with every penny. I met his gaze, my voice level. "I remember giving you $50 a few days ago for wedding stuff. You didn't buy anything, did you? Give it back." His hand froze, Then he offered an awkward explanation. That money. I bought Chloe some new sandals. I couldn't help but scoff. Seriously? Again? Well, if there's nothing else, I'm going to bed. I'll give you the money tomorrow, he said, a hint of anger in his voice. We're getting married. Do you really have to be so petty? I snorted. So, I can't even be upset when you spend my hard-earned money on someone else? He knew he was wrong, but still muttered, unbelievable. I didn't bother arguing. Closing the door firmly, over the next few days, I sold some of my less valuable possessions, the trinkets that held so many memories from my past life. Now they seem like nothing more than sentimental clutter. I packed them all up and sold them to a second-hand dealer for a modest sum. That afternoon, as I continued packing, Jake appeared, holding out a $50 bill. His voice was stiff. Here's your money. I took the money and nodded. Thanks. He watched me, his expression unreadable. His eyes fell on my packed suitcase. I'm planning to take Chloe with me to New York first. You don't have to pack. I continued packing, simply nodding. He seemed unnerved by my lack of reaction. What's gotten into you lately? You're like a different person. I turned to him impatiently. I didn't want any complications. Even though Jake didn't love me, if he found out that Chloe's name was on the marriage license, he might try to remarry me for her sake. I wanted nothing more to do with either of them. Nothing. I'm just packing my things so I can move back home when you go to New York. He seemed relieved, then added, I'm not saying you can't come to New York. It's just that Chloe's never been there, and she wants to see it. I'll send for you in a few months. I nodded absently. In my previous life, he hadn't sent for me for 8 whole years. Not until Chloe married a wealthy military family heir from New York did he finally bring me there. He watched me uncomfortable. Usually when we were alone, I would chatter nonstop. Now my silence made him fidgety. Didn't you always want to take wedding photos? Let's go to the studio tomorrow. That wasn't going to work. I planned to buy some college supplies tomorrow. I was about to make an excuse when Chloe walked in, looping her arm through Jake's. Jakey, what studio? I want to take pictures too. Jake smiled and patted Chloe's head. Sure, we'll all go tomorrow. You two go. I have things to do tomorrow. Jake frowned. What's more important than our wedding photos? We'll take the photos first, and then I'll go with you to buy whatever you need. His tone was firm, leaving no room for argument. Chloe chimed in. Yeah, Sarah, you're not going just because of me, are you? I didn't want to argue, so I agreed.